Scanning the globe, spotlighting the best in health and wellness technology.
Known around the world as the Gear Guru.
The Gear Guru investigates.
Red light therapy. Why all the buzz?
Red light therapy isn't magic, but it harnesses the power of light to support health.
Red light therapy has been praised for its miracle benefits that many say roll back the aging process.
The treatment, first developed by NASA in the 1980s, uses red light and infrared light to have a healing effect on the body.
Red light therapy.
This NASA-tested technology has been used for decades to increase healing and reverse aging cells. Dr. Carl Rothschild, nationally recognized pioneer, author, and leader in red light therapy, combines decades of patient-focused expertise with groundbreaking research. He's perfected red and near-infrared light therapy to utilize the optimal frequencies to target different parts of the body.
Red light therapy actually stimulates the mitochondria. It rejuvenates them. And by having proper functioning mitochondria, your body will be able to function optimally. And it does that because there are elements in the mitochondria that are sensitive to light. It helps with clarity. It helps with everything from athletic performance to increasing energy, to reducing pain, to skin rejuvenation, and helping ease inflammation. Almost every other day, I get someone calling me up saying, "You need to talk to my patient. I want you to interview them," because they're going to tell you some stuff that I didn't even anticipate. The kind of results that we're seeing are unbelievable.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, I just need to clean my glasses.
Perfect. I'm excited to talk to you. I've been getting really hardcore into understanding the red light therapy further, and I've been talking a lot to my mom about it, so I'm really excited to hear like your entire thing, your journey, your process, everything. Introducing Dr. Carl Rothschild. Welcome back to the SpiritualiTea podcast with Kiara, where we ignite your inner flame and journey through the cosmic unknown. If you loved our episode about the cosmic connection, you're in for a luminous treat today. We're diving into the sacred synergy between science and spirit, exploring how red light therapy, a cutting-edge wellness technology, can support spiritual awakening, emotional healing, and energetic alignment. Today's special guest is Dr. Carl Rothschild, founder of LipoMelt Technologies. He is not only a pioneer in the red light therapy, but a soul whose work beautifully intersects with the 5 spirit bodies: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and even ethereal. So let's beam into the light of possibility together. I'd like to start off this awesome podcast by thanking you so much, Mr. Carl Rothschild, for coming in and talking to me about your awesome creation that you have.
Step into the light, oh, feel it glow. The rhythms in your heart, let it show.
Welcome to the show. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, and I really appreciate the opportunity. It was 1972. I was a junior at Stony Brook University out in New York, very good school, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life. I got to tell you that in New York, it was very much frowned upon. I'm talking about chiropractic. So I went against the odds, I went against my family, but I did some research and I called a lot of chiropractors, and everyone that I called was thrilled to be a chiropractor. And that's what I wanted. There was the criteria for me. What I was looking for was to help as many people as I possibly can in a healthy, natural way, and to have fun. I mean, to actually look forward to going to work each morning. I mean, that was an amazing opportunity for me. So in 1978, I started as a chiropractor, and I loved it. I mean, I did it for, it's now 48 years. So I've been around for a long time. And I had overall, not all at the same time, I had 12 practices, I've lectured, I've done all kinds of stuff. I love being busy and I love helping people. So then, about 28 years ago, I was introduced to red light therapy. Now, there was an orthopedic surgeon out of USC out here in California. And I didn't talk about how I got to California, but let's just say I did, and I wound up living here. Mm-hmm. And this orthopedic surgeon suggested that I use this thing that he was handing me, which looked a lot like a flashlight. And he said, "I want you to shine this on your patients and help me save the world." And I thought he was crazy. Absolutely nuts. I mean, come on. I'm a wise guy from New York. I know everything, 20 years in practice at that point, and he's going to tell me to shine a light on people, but I agreed to try it. And the one thing we knew back then, and it's the same thing that we for sure know now, is that in the 50 years that they've studied this technology, there's never been a recorded side effect. So you couldn't hurt somebody if you tried. The worst that'll happen is nothing. I started going to my patients and say, give me something different that we haven't treated with you. So this lady says, I have gum disease. I helped her gum disease. That was a surprise. And this guy had kidney problems, and I significantly helped his kidney problems. And it just kept going on. And of course, the standard musculoskeletal issues also. Like we had one guy that had a ripped Achilles tendon, and he needed surgery. In fact, my team, we sent him to the surgeon, and he couldn't get his surgery for a week. So we thought, well, why don't he come in every day? We'll laser that using the light. We'll use the light on him every day. And when he went for the surgical review in about a week after the injury happened, he didn't need surgery. And it was surprising to us as well as him because it was really injured. So that was a class 1 device that I was using all that many 27 something years ago. And now, over the years we went to class 2, 3, and finally a class 4 with having really beautiful results. But everything we were doing, well let me put it this way, 14, 15 years ago, they discovered that there was an element of light that was red, only red. Now, up to that point, we were using a variety of different lights, but it was only red that helped with weight loss. It helped to shrink the fat cells.
Okay.
It did it all natural, all healthy. You're not damaging anything. It's not like freezing fat, boiling fat. It's not radio frequency or ultrasonic cavitation, which is about destroying fat cells. This is about not doing that. And over the years, what they found was that this element of red light could actually change temporarily, just for a few hours, change the outside wall of the fat cells, become more porous and allow the fat contents to leak out. And it works. It works. And using our unique protocol, we'll move the fat that's been leaked out eventually away from the fat cells and eventually to the liver for use or elimination. And that was fun. So at that point, I got even more heavily involved with light therapy and started manufacturing. And we were manufacturing lasers and pads and panels and involved with that kind of stuff that covered parts of the body. And that's significant. In a moment, I'll tell you how significant that is that we didn't treat. Well, here's what happens. COVID hit, and our practitioners wanted less physical contact between themselves and the patient, and we developed a bed. For those of you that can actually see, this is a Model 5, but we had developed the first model that many years ago, and we started shipping them out because you can get in and out of bed yourself. You don't need staff. In fact, when someone says, what does it cost? I said, well, right off, for a business, you don't need staff. So you're going to save yourself quite a bit of money in that sense. Given that, we started shipping out these beds just as a substitute for what we had been producing up to that point. And some unbelievable things started happening. So I want to give you an example. And I use this example in a lot of my speeches and talks. And I go to people, I say, if you're a health practitioner, great. If you're not, I want you to pretend you are. And I'm going to call you up, or I'm going to have someone call you up as a patient and say, listen, I'm having a heart attack once, if not twice a week. Now, it started 12, 13 years ago at once a month and twice a month. Eventually now it's up to twice a week. And every time I die, the defibrillator that they had implanted in, well, I don't want to use me, as in this patient's body would zap him back to life.
Yeah.
And this happened hundreds of times.
Ooh.
By the time we met him, he was not doing well, let's put it that way. Again, it was becoming more frequent. His heart weakness was becoming more and more obvious. He used to be an athlete, so imagine how depressed he is that he can't take 10 steps without losing his breath. And so many other things. In fact, I'm going to send you a bunch of videos that I welcome you to share with your audience. And I'm telling you, they are unbelievable. So this guy's having heart attacks. I told the practitioner, why don't we just treat him for 5 minutes and stay in the room the whole time? And that patient went home that night. And that was almost 2 years ago, right around 2 years ago. He has not had a heart attack since.
Wow.
He's had more treatment, but no more heart attack. Yeah. Right after that very first visit, he noticed some significant changes, including with his energy. He had erectile dysfunction within a couple of weeks or so. That stopped. And every organ, every gland, every tissue in his body came back to life. And were we thrilled? Absolutely. Did we expect that? No way. But now we're seeing it more and more with almost any condition you can think of. And I don't want it to sound like snake oil, but it kind of does sound like snake oil, because every tissue can be affected in a very positive way with this beautiful light therapy. So that's the story about Arnett. And when I send you the videos, I want you all to watch Arnett's video. There's also Jessica's video that had not just Lyme disease and 20 years of diarrhea and a myriad of other issues. She had 20 different problems that were all serious. She spent a goodly amount of her each month, going to doctors, taking pills and drugs and injections and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And nothing really was there to save her. It was just to kind of get her through. And I'm going to say this now, but I want you to understand that nobody makes money if you're healthy. There's no money to be gotten. So if the medical industry wants to be rich, which they are, you all have to be sick. That's what it's about. Illness pays. Healthiness, no one's going to pay you anything for being healthy. And no one's going to pay anyone else to get you whatever. So health is not the way this country works, to be honest with you. I don't want to get political here, but I could go on. Let's talk about Steve for a second. Now, Steve had Lyme disease. He contracted it when he was 12, and it ruined his life. I mean, he couldn't have a career. He couldn't go to school because there were days he couldn't get out of bed. His energy was horrible. He had brain fog. It's a whole myriad of different conditions that came with that Lyme disease. And when he was 50, now he's 40 years of having Lyme disease. Wow. And when he was in his 50s, he tried our bed. When you watch this video, it's why I got goosebumps from this guy and many others. Remember, I started in the 72 with my goal to help as many people. And I'm going to tell you now more than ever, what we hear is, thank you for giving me my life back. Yeah. That's what this was all about for me.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. And I'm not in practice. So I'm loving it vicariously through the works of my people that have gotten our bed.
May I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
The first kind of thought I heard was you said class system. When you say classes, for people who don't know much in the medical field, what are the classes for the lights?
So if you look up the power of a device, a class 1 is relatively weak, but that's what we had 20 something years ago. Then they were able to develop stronger and stronger lights, and eventually it was a class 4. That's the maximum.
And then the second question is, for red light, is it related at all to like something similar to the sun rays, or what does a red light come from?
Absolutely, it is. And in my talk, I will often talk about the sun. It's all about the sun. And when I talk to you about how this works, it's about taking sunlights, 4 glorious elements of sunlight, and magnifying them many times and then driving them deep into the person's body.
Wow.
So for example, with Arnett having a heart attack, somebody said, well, couldn't he just sit out in the sun? No, it wouldn't be strong enough. It wouldn't be effective enough. It's not hurting anybody if you sit out in the sun. You should get some sunlight. We were put on this planet with a sun. We weren't put on this planet to live in a cave. So the more, it just takes 15, 20 minutes a day of some nice sunlight. That's it. We don't want you to get burnt. It doesn't have to be excessive. And but if you're out in the sun, and you don't abuse yourself, I mean, you can tell when people abuse the sun, because I'm 73 and I don't abuse the sun. And I look, pretty young for 73. And I've seen people 20 years younger than me who have abused the sun, and they look like, like leather and old and elderly. I'm not doing this. I'm not saying it's important to look younger, but actually feel great.
Yeah.
In fact, I used to teach a class where you'll be dancing when you're 75. And what does it take and what's involved? And of course, there are 2 main things: smart exercise and smart eating. And I guess I should say smart consumption, because alcohol, water, things like that can also be effective or get in the way. Alcohol is one of the worst things. I'm not saying don't ever drink. That'd be perfect, but if you don't have to, but just if you know that you're abusing alcohol, abuse it less. Put it that way. Now, I want to talk to you about my feeling about health. I look at it like a candle that burns bright right from the top all the way to the bottom, and then sputters out and dies. That's how we should live our life health-wise. And that's not how most people do it. The last 10, 20 years of people's lives, often they're invalids. They're not active. They're not having fun. And that's not what this is about. It's not about lifespan. It's about health span. How healthy you can be for as long as you can be. And it's all about the highest quality of life you can possibly have. So when we talk about, for example, Parkinson's and dementia, we had this one lady with horrible Parkinson's and terrible dementia that they couldn't handle her at home anymore. And we hear about Parkinson's a lot as far as the tremors are concerned. The red light therapy will definitely help with those types of things. So to imagine this person the family couldn't handle her anymore. She was actually belligerent and a danger to herself and others. And they were about to put her in a home. And after a relatively short period of time with the light, she's lucid. And her tremors are much better and her movement is much smoother. Now she's still an old lady and she still has Parkinson's, but her quality of life has improved dramatically. So I really want to mention the word claims. I'm trying to report the news to you and not make claims. I'm not going to tell you every one of you is going to have the same response.
Yeah.
So don't don't say that you heard that I told you to stop all your drugs and stop. I'm not saying that at all. Thank God there are drugs and surgery when used properly. It's just in this country, it's overused. I don't think it should be the first thing to be considered. And natural healing is a much smarter way to go. And if you incorporate smart eating, smart exercise, and red light therapy, I promise you, maybe I'm not allowed to promise you, I sincerely believe that you'll do much better in your life. And having been doing this for this many years and getting all the feedback, and it's beautiful feedback. For example, all our practitioners that are using it, almost every one of them call me up and say, I can't believe how great this is. It's like a magnet that draws more people to my office than I've ever had before. I just talked to a lady, can't remember her name, and she was talking to me about the success she's had for her own body with the light, and so she referred 18 people to that office. And so here's what's important for you to know. It's not satisfied patients that refer. It's excited people that do. And you're going to see more excited people with integrating red light therapy in their lives. And typically a process, it's 3 times a week. Each dose is 12 minutes. And what I tell everybody, just give me 6 visits. Now I'm not in practice, so I tell the practitioners, just say, give me 6 visits, that's all. And at the end of the 6 visits, which means the end of the second week, 3 times a week, 12 minutes a dose. At the end of the second week, we'll do a sit down, which is called a report of findings, and determine where you were when we started, where are you now? And if you don't see any change at all, that would be rare. In many cases, it could be a great change, but in the very severe cases, like horrible Parkinson's or really bad, they still should see a glimmer of change by the end of the sixth visit. I'll give you an example. This guy had Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. That means he was guaranteed to go blind. And he first started going blind when he was in college. So maybe late teens or early 20s, and it freaked him out. And he had LHON, Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, which is unfortunate. And they didn't know what to do, so his mother got him to use one of our beds. And it absolutely halted the progression. So there are some diseases that the best we can look for, like multiple sclerosis, which is like a cavity eating away at the nervous tissue. What we're looking for is to halt the progression and get rid of some of the symptoms, like his headaches, including migraine headaches, his insomnia, many other symptoms. They were all gone. And the sight that he lost up to that point, well, that's gone. But do you know how thrilled he is that he was going to be blind? He surrendered to that, and now he's not.
Yeah.
And the same thing, we have people who have had multiple sclerosis, and how thrilled they are because multiple sclerosis is absolutely guaranteed to be progressive, and you're going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And yet we can typically stop and halt the progression of even multiple sclerosis. So it sounds like it sounds like snake oil, like I'm telling you that we can help every tissue in the body. But unfortunately, I'm not even gonna apologize. It just does. It does. It affects many, many tissues of your body, many, many of the cells that make up the tissues of your body are going to be affected by this glorious elements of red light. Now, before I go over how the technology works, I just want to go over a few things. What I'm going to challenge each of you is to try 6 visits. Again, I'm not in practice. You're not paying me anything. I'm just telling you, you're going to love it. Probably. So what you do is you go to the website, and it's right up here. If you can see, it's trifectalight.com. The tri and trifecta is the triple effect of face, fat, and healing. So the face is going to look much better, younger. Fat loss actually occurs, which I'm going to talk to you in a little bit more detail in a second. And then, of course, the healing aspect. And that's the tri and the trifecta. So it's trifectalight.com. And then go to the Contact Us page. And on the left side of that page, you're going to see an opportunity for you to find an office that's closest to you. We can't list all the offices because of privacy reasons, but we can have one of our staff find a location closest to you. And then I'm going to challenge you to do the following. Try it for 6 visits, 2 weeks, 3 times a week. And then I'm going to say something which kind of ticks off some people, but you no longer complain about your ailments, your condition, until you've tried it 6 times. And at the end of the 6 visits, if you don't see a change, sometimes a dramatic change, but if you don't see some change, that would be very rare, very unusual. Maybe they didn't plug the bed in, I don't know, but if you have a regular functioning bed and you get in that thing 6 visits, you should see some nice change. You might need a lot more visits, but those 6 visits are the telltale sign that something should change for you. So that's about the website. Now, on the right side of the Contact Us page on trifectalight.com is an opportunity to research whether this makes sense to incorporate it in your business. It's not for accountants. It's not for stockbrokers. It's for people that do anything with the body. And that's the aesthetic world. That's the health industry, fitness industry, mental health. Well, mental industry is a little complicated, but weight loss and athletes. All those people should be getting in this bed. And all those people could buy in those industries should be buying a bed for their business. And they will make more money, but more important to me is you're going to help a lot more people than you could ever imagine. So that's about the website. I want to talk to you about my book. I don't make a dime off of the book. All profits go to charity. It's called Illuminated Healing. And if you can see it, it's right behind me. You go to Amazon and put in Illuminated Healing, and you will be able to buy the book. So then the other thing is to go to the YouTube channel, which is wonderful. And all you do is you go to YouTube, you put in the @ Trifecta Light Official, and you're going to see over 130 really excellent videos, recordings, and whatnot, explaining, interviews, all kinds of stuff there. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a breather, meaning I'm going to let you ask questions at this point.
Perfect. Thank you so much for telling everybody the story, and also I look forward to sharing those videos of some of the people that you've recommended. It sounds pretty amazing to see their before and after. As far as what our listeners mostly encompass on this channel, many of them are empaths, healers, mystics. Can you explain how red light therapy supports the physical body and how it might even go beyond that into emotional or mental wellness?
Go over what the mechanism. We talked about the mechanism for fat loss, right? We said that red, and only red, will change the outside wall of the fat cells to become more porous, and the fat contents leak out. And it works. It absolutely works. I mean, we need cooperation from the person. They can't go home every night and pig out and think that they're going to have great success. But if they go on what we call a calorically neutral diet, it's not so stringent that you're going to starve yourself, because no one's going to stay on that. In fact, the word diet is problematic, because the word diet means that there's a beginning and an end to the diet. And when the diet ends, 95% and more of people put all their weight back on, if not even more. So we don't want really people to go on a diet. We want them to change their lifestyle and integrate this, maybe not overnight, but slowly integrate the smart ways of eating and maybe eliminating some things that are really doing you in. So that's fat loss. Now, there are 2 separate mechanisms. One is about fat loss, which was only discovered about 12 years ago. And the other thing is the healing aspect. And of course, they discovered it decades and decades ago, but they didn't really understand how it worked until more recently. And so the key word that I want to explain to you is the key word is mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have heard that word. When I went to school, I was taught that there was one mitochondria in every cell of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not true. In fact, there are tissues of your body, like the heart, that has such a high demand for energy. And we're going to talk about what the mitochondria does in just a moment. But the demand is so high in the heart that there are over 5,000 mitochondria in each heart cell. So let's quickly talk about what the mitochondria is all about.
Mm-hmm.
In every cell, there are at least anywhere up to 500 to 600 mitochondria in each cell.
Mm-hmm.
What they found is that the mitochondria is what they call the powerhouse of the body. It produces a very important molecule called ATP, and that's considered the energy currency of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have the right amount of ATP, you're going to do well. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. But if you don't have the right amount of ATP, you could succumb to disease and eventually death. ATP is critical for the body. And the mitochondria produces the ATP, and it's the reason why you eat food and breathe oxygen, so that you produce this ATP, which will keep you alive. The ATP is, as I said, the energy currency. So everything that functions in your body, every function in your body relies on ATP.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't even know how important ATP was until even more recently, because I told you that there isn't just one mitochondria in each cell. Mm-hmm. And what they have subsequently learned is that the mitochondria makes up 10% of your body weight.
Whoa.
If you think about that, think about all the other things that make up your body weight, and then just the mitochondria makes up 10% of that. It's huge. Yeah. And so having the mitochondria that you have to do what they're supposed to do, you will be stronger, your immune system will be more effective. And so then it might not surprise you that so many different ailments can be assisted with this. And then you asked about mental health and the like. So when someone gets in our bed, they keep their eyes closed and their mouth open. Mm. No, don't wear the goggles. And so someone said, well, isn't it dangerous for your eyes? Well, I just told you 50 years of studies, and there's never been a recorded side effect. It could be annoying as heck if you keep your eyes open, because it's a very bright light. You wouldn't stare into a bright flashlight, so you just keep your eyes closed. So you might be wondering, well, can it get through the eyelid? I'm telling you, it can get through the skull to get to the brain. So it's going to get through the skin and the eyelid very easily. So talking about the brain, what they have found is that this process brings joy to people like they haven't had before in many years. We had a lady, she wrote me an email, and this was after a couple of weeks of using the bed, and then even a little bit after that, she writes me an email and says, if this is how normal people feel every day, I can't believe I've been missing out all this time. Because she found joy that she hadn't experienced for many years of her life. And the mechanism is partly what I described to you, but I'm not going to promise you that they know exactly why people feel more joy. I mean, obviously their overall health improves dramatically. But I'm the kind of person that if you tell me something doesn't hurt you, couldn't hurt if you tried, and in fact will help you conceivably tremendously, I'm in. Yeah. I don't need to know that when I flip the switch on and the lights come on, I don't need to know every detail of why that works. Yeah. And if I'm guaranteed that you couldn't hurt somebody with this light therapy, and if I'm guaranteed the likelihood of helping me is tremendous, I say get in the bed. Now, I don't know if I showed you this before, but do you see that mug? Can you see it?
In the bed.
Get in the bed. That's my attitude, and that's why my staff made up that mug for me.
Oh, that's so cute.
I say get in the bed. Get in the bed. Someone say, I have this problem, that is, will it help with my energy? Will it help with my clarity? Will it help with my insomnia? It does. It does. The only way you're going to know that is you got to try it 6 times. Find an office closest to you. Now, so to that end, you should figure out, what are you looking for? When people produce something really great, then there are countries and people out there that are going to copy and knock it off.
Yeah.
These cheap knockoffs don't work nearly as well. They look similar, but they're crap. And so now they really do damage to the industry because they taint the whole industry. Because the person gets in that junk bed and goes, I didn't do anything. And then they equate that to all red light therapy. And they go, red light therapy doesn't work. So here's what you need to look for. Ours is the only bed at this price range that has what's called medical grade lights. In other words, there are beds out there that are twice the price of ours. But our bed has medical grade lights. So what does that mean? These are lights that burn very strong, but don't get hot. So why is that important? Heat is the enemy. Heat dilates blood vessels, brings more fluid to the surface of the body. That's why when I take a hot pack off of someone's back and it's bright red, because that's what heat does. And so the heat will block through creating more surface blood, will block the penetration of the light, and your results are going to be lousy. So where the money is, where the effort is, has to do with and we put a lot of money and research and creating the strongest lights possible that don't get hot. However, also the lights are also customizable. So someone who's 80 pounds is going to get a uniquely different dose than someone who's 400 pounds, because the 400 pounder has so much flesh, they can absorb a lot more energy without it getting hot. And the 80 pounder who has zero flesh on them, they can't handle as much power. So we have to tone down that power for them. And we can customize the treatment. Also, you want the top canopy, which opens up and then comes down onto the person. You want it as close to the body as possible. If the further away the lights are from the body, you lose power exponentially that way. So you want the lights as close to the body. And then the last thing is you want the ability to pulse the wave. Some of your audience will know about healing frequencies, resonating frequencies, and things like that. Different tissues in your body resonate with different frequencies. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I will tell you, because we can pulse the wave at different frequencies, it has enhanced the results that we have. So this bed that we now have is about, I would say, 10 improvements over the first one, or something like that. So it's not like we just sit there, we create one bed and say, that's it. We're going to constantly want to have the best bed out there in the market, and it's called Trifecta Light.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, even talking about the science and innovation, what role do you believe that this technology will have on humanity's evolution?
I don't know about evolution, but I will tell you that, I mean, we evolved on this planet with the sun, so we're already there. This sunlight, these energies, these frequencies and wavelengths of light, we're ready for them. The body is attuned to those. You just have to mimic those and put them in and create that much more power for the body. But as far as the future is concerned, again, I started as a chiropractor in '78. And within two or 3 months of me being in practice, I get a phone call from a medical doctor who was threatening to put me in jail because he felt that I was threatening the life of his patient. So this is what we've been up against all the time. It's about money. It's about power. I told you already that healthy people don't make anybody any money.
Yeah.
And there are not, in my industry, which is chiropractic, we emphasize that the patients help us to not only get them better, keep them that way.
Yeah.
But a lot of other people in the medical field, that's not what the life's about. And so they wait until you're half dead. If you wait until you're so far down the road, of course, it's a very expensive ordeal. And you're going to not have the wonders of life that I told you about, dancing when you're 75 or 80. And instead being in a wheelchair and having someone feed you, wash you, and even wipe you. And you know why some people don't take care of themselves? Because they're not scared enough. How did I get scared? I mean, I wasn't the most disciplined person in the world. I wasn't when I was a kid. But I started working with patients Even before I became a chiropractor, I wanted to see what the industry was like. And I was a medical assistant. And I saw people who didn't take care of themselves. And I kept saying to myself, not out loud, please God, don't let me wind up like that. I don't want to wind up like that. And so that's what created my discipline. If you have wonderful natural discipline, God bless you. But if you don't, go and visit some, retirement homes with people who have severe conditions and see what their life's like. They're sitting in a wheelchair all day and waiting to go to sleep, wake up the next day to sit in a wheelchair all day to go to sleep again. I mean, I don't want that. I want to be mobile, I want to be active, and I'm hoping that you all would like the same for yourself.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think I just have kind of one more thought-provoking question, and it's okay if it doesn't have an answer, but as a spiritual practitioner, I mean, I'm also very curious about science and have always been interested in how to bridge the two worlds, but the idea that maybe something that has a scientific tool and a backing and research could support practices that are a little bit more esoteric, whether it be meditation, energy healing, or dream work. As a practitioner that does sound healing myself, I work with tuning forks and crystal bowls and whatnot. Do you think that this experience could amplify, if I use like your tool, could amplify the experience of sound healing or energy work?
Of course. Let me also say this, that a sick person is going to be much tougher for you to work on than someone who's better. Mm-hmm. So even if we didn't work with the spiritual world, I'm talking about with the bed, which it probably does, but I don't have any physical proof of that. Mm-hmm. But even if it didn't, people who are healthier are more open and more subject to being available to have success with these other therapies that you do. And I've been using vibratory frequencies for 20 something years. But with the bed, we include 32 things with the purchase. And it costs about $1,400 a month to lease. But remember, this is a very high-end medical device. But having that high-end frequency, I've been working with vibratory frequency, sound frequency, which we include both of those with the device. And then of course our bed has light frequency. Now I will tell you, some people include everything under the sun with each patient that comes in. And I don't recommend that. And I'll tell you why. I mean, we have some facilities that have a lot of things in there, that the patients go through. So then when you say, well, what's helping them and what's not helping, they can't tell you because you've thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, at them. But if you can get them to be wise about their eating, be wise about the exercise, and the whole body vibration that we include with the purchase is a wonderful way. It's not a substitute for exercise, but it's another way of enhancing circulation, both lymphatic and blood. So if the person's doing those things, then from the spiritual world, they'll be more available to have you do your thing.
That's awesome. I feel like you already said what this message is, but in closing, if you could gift one message to all of those tuning in, what would it be? I'm telling you, think twice about what you're doing. It doesn't mean you never can have a beer again. It doesn't mean you can never have dessert or anything that's it's just being smarter about what you're doing. Smarter food choices, alcohol choices, and drink water. Not, a lot of people think, well, a little bit something, then a lot must be great. There are people that drink too much water, if you can believe that. Yeah.
And then there are people who, they try. Make sure that you have a great practitioner that can guide you with this. And remember that many people in the health industry are there to make, I'm sorry to say it, to make money. And you want to find somebody that's there to help you. And if they make some money, great. But that shouldn't be their focus. And some people, you can tell that they're making suggestions that are going to cost a lot more money. And, there's so much money to be made with sick people. It's in the trillions. So if you can stay healthy, you'll save a lot of money and you'll have a more fun life.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carl, for illuminating everything that you had experienced and sharing your book, sharing this process, sharing the bed. with such passion and insight. Your work beautifully bridges the realms between not only science but soulful healing, especially for those of us tuning in that are on that aspect or the other, reminding us that light truly is a gateway. To all of those spirituality listeners, remember your body is a temple, your mind is a galaxy, and your spirit is a flame. So until next time, stay radiant and keep sipping on that tea of truth. If you could please follow Dr. Carl's work at his website that he has, I'll make sure it's listed in the description below as well. And if you're interested in how red light therapy could amplify your work, please visit his website. And I look forward to hearing from you guys again. And thank you so much again, Dr. Carl.
You're very welcome. I appreciate the opportunity.